It's Monday, March 14. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Coming up, opposition agrees with compensation review. Dr. Paul Robertson remembered. Regionally, Barbados prepares for budget presentation. And in sports, champs ready to welcome fans. The People's National Party, PNP, has thrown their support behind the public sector compensation review. This as spokesperson on finance, planning and the public service, Julian Robertson, gave his reply to the 2022-2023 budget in the House of Representatives last week.
The truth is, Madam Speaker, over successive administrations, the workers of Jamaica have always been called on to bear the brunt when we have had to make sacrifices. Our teachers, our police, nurses, doctors, civil servants, firefighters, and auxiliary workers have been called upon to hold strain. All of us. Our faithful and hardworking public servants have done so over and over again, but with one caveat. They have demanded a review of their compensation in the public sector.
He stressed that people must be paid a decent salary in order to attract and retain talent within the public service in order to help grow the country's GDP.
Those positions at the top deserve appropriate increases. However, those lower paid workers, such as our security guards, our groundsmen, the women who work in school canteens, the porters, the auxiliary workers, the civilian workers in the JDF and the JSIF, and our very own employees in this parliament, such as our orderlies, are also deserving of equity when these increases take place.
Political service was in the bloodstream of Dr. Paul Robertson. So says former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson during his tribute at the Thanksgiving service for the late cabinet minister and political stalwart.
It was his destiny to eventually enter the political arena. Having completed his doctorate at Michigan University, he declined the security of tenure, which as a lecturer at this university he was entitled to obtain. It was entirely predictable that he chose instead to inquire of Prime Minister Michael Manley in what area he could best serve our nation.
Mr. Patterson stated that Dr. Robertson sacrificed all else and devoted his entire being to his political career, explaining that he later became General Secretary of the People's National Party, taking over from Dr. D.K. Duncan.
He was eager and well equipped to undertake the arduous journey of mobilizing the party to face the rigors of political combat. He was prepared to exert the patience and discipline which assure political victories. The new General Secretary defined his own brand, the healing balm to restore unity. That quiet and self-effacing approach to inspire the entire organizing staff and all our party workers by his own readiness and stamina to undertake the most lonely and arduous task.
Sharing one of his experiences working alongside Dr. Robertson was former Prime Minister Bruce Golding. He admired how Dr. Robertson was trident in putting forward his position, but never arrogant. He was combative, but never abusive.
We were among the first members appointed to the Electoral Advisory Committee. When the broad framework for electoral reform was agreed on by Michael Manley and Edward Seaga, Hugh Shearer, and P.J. Patterson, Paul and I were assigned to work out the nuts and bolts. We did it over 3 or 4 weeks, meeting 2-3 times a week. And if you were a fly on the wall, you would believe that we were party colleagues, because that is how we approached that task, knowing A, the importance of it, but as well the urgency with which we had to get it done.
Mr. Golding stated although they were from different political parties, it never defined their friendship. Dr. Robertson died at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital on February 19 following a brief illness. He was 75. The United States has confirmed Jamaican-born New York State Assembly member Nick Perry to be the country's ambassador to Jamaica. The 71-year-old Perry was born in St. Andrew and after secondary schooling at Kingston College, joined the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union BITU as an organizer prior to emigrating to the United States in 1971. Perry, a veteran New York State legislator who represents the predominantly Caribbean 58th Assembly District in Brooklyn, including the neighborhoods of East Flatbush, Canarsie, and Brownsville, will be the first U.S. ambassador to Jamaica who was born in Jamaica. In a statement, Perry said, quote, "I would like to express my most sincere gratitude to Senate Leader Charles Schumer for his support of my candidacy from the beginning of my nomination process through my confirmation. I intend to serve the United States with distinction while in Jamaica and use my unique perspective as a Jamaican-born American to contribute positively to strengthening our partnership with Jamaica." End quote. A project has been launched to reinforce road safety messages among students attending 7 primary and infant schools in Jamaica. The Safe Passages, Safe Routes to Schools Safety Club is a follow-up to the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF's Safe Passage project. It's being implemented in collaboration with the Education Ministry, Transport Ministry's Road Safety Unit, municipal corporations, Community Development Committee, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch. Education Minister Favour Williams says the goal is to provide a safe environment for students as they traverse roadways and thoroughfares in the vicinity of their school campuses.
I'm particularly pleased that children from the Augustown Primary, Beckerstedt Primary and Infant, Greenwich Primary, Hope Valley Experimental Primary, Roehampton Primary, Salt Spring Primary and Infant, and Treadlight Primary and Infant schools are deeply involved in this initiative. Some of these schools offering service at the early childhood level will benefit directly from membership in this club.
Transport Minister Audley Shaw says the project is necessary as global statistics show that too many children, including child pedestrians in low and middle income countries such as Jamaica, are victims of fatal injuries.
At the ministry, we place a special emphasis on school children who now more than ever need to get to schools safely across the island.
With a total investment of 155 million Jamaican dollars, the Safe Passage project includes the rehabilitation or construction of infrastructure such as sidewalks, bus bays, and guardrails. It also includes the painting of murals and installation of road safety signs, as well as public education. Time now for the latest market updates in the Business Report with Danita Rodney.
In foreign exchange trading for Friday, March 11, the US dollar sold for an average of $153.90. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $120.82. The pound sterling traded for $200.91, and the euro sold for an average of $172.68. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Friday's trading session. The JSE index advanced by 876 points to close at over 400,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 90 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index advanced by 1,618 points to close at over 400,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 2,112 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 107 stocks, of which 58 advanced, 37 declined, and 12 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and CAC 2000 Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, Access Financial Services Limited, and Blue Power Group Limited. Future Energy Source Company Limited Ordinary Shares was the volume leader with over 4.7 million units, followed by Wigton Wind Farm Limited Ordinary Shares with over 4 million units, and JMMB Group Limited with over 2.7 million units. In market data for oil prices fell by around $5 a barrel on Monday as investors pinned hopes on diplomatic efforts by Ukraine and Russia to end their conflict, while a surge in COVID-19 cases in China spooked the markets. Brent was down by $4.62 or 4.1% at $108.05 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude fell $5.45 or 5% to $103.88 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In news across the region, we begin in the Bahamas. Masks are no longer a requirement in a lobby, corridor, or casino of a hotel or within a group of vaccinated individuals, as the Ministry of Health and Wellness has announced further relaxations of existing COVID-19 rules. More details in this Our News report.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness announcing the further relaxation of existing COVID-19 rules, as masks are no longer required while in a lobby, corridor, or casino of a hotel. Masks are also no longer required while in an outdoor setting where there is at least 3 feet of space between persons who are not of the same household. As for social gatherings, the capacity for indoor events has been extended to 75% occupancy once occupants are fully vaccinated or present a negative COVID-19 test. Outdoor social events are now allowed up to 300 persons, granted they too are fully vaccinated or present a negative COVID-19 test. Social distancing rules now state that there must be no less than 3 feet between persons while away from their residences. Business establishments can determine capacity based on 1 person for every 30 square feet of unoccupied floor space. Restaurants must also arrange seating at least 3 feet between each dining party. Health officials are still encouraging persons to continue to wear a face mask while away from their residence.
In Barbados, it's Budget Day, and the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation news team took to the nation's streets to speak to Barbadians about their expectations ahead of the budget. Crystal Hoyt has the story.
On Monday, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Mia Amor-Motley will deliver her 2022 Financial and Economic Statement in Parliament. It will outline her administration's plan to address critical economic and other issues. The budget, as it is commonly called, comes as Barbados, like the rest of the world, emerges from the restricting reality of the COVID-19 pandemic and deals with the fallout of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. To hear from Barbadians what they want to see in this budget, we took to the streets of Bridgetown.
I will hope that something in it for the poor man. That's all I can hope for, because right now, the situation as it stands, things ain't getting no better. People now send back to school the children, and people actually broke.
Listen, she got to drop the price of gas, food stuff. The 2 most important things, gas and food stuff.
Despite I would prefer a reduction in the cost of living, it's obvious that it's going to be a rise in it. I feel I would like to see some release for what was going on for the past 2 years. Supermarket prices, the oil prices, you name it, all the prices.
I want to like no more taxes as a businessman and import my items. More taxes will be heavy for me. Especially know the gas going up, so I know there will always be more on the gas. But really, I want like no more taxes than we got right now.
I'm hopeful that she recognizes the business sector is now beginning to gallop, and the last thing we want to do is put more weight on that horse. I'm also very hopeful that we understand, or the Prime Minister understands, that the business sector needs concessions. The last 2 years have been very hard. It has wiped out a lot of the profits from many businesses. Many people have been sent home, and the only way that the sector is going to start to rebuild and grow is if it has the opportunity to do so in an environment that recognizes it needs assistance.
The budget will commence at 3 p.m. on March 14th. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
In Trinidad and Tobago, the American Chamber of Commerce has fully endorsed the theme for this year's International Women's Day celebration, Break the Bias. President Tony Sirju, during the organization's International Women's Day celebration on Friday, stated that women continue to face many challenges today, and the COVID-19 pandemic has only added to that situation.
Women on the front lines of the pandemic have faced disproportionate impacts in employment, education, healthcare, and gender-based violence. Women on the front lines of climate change impacts face an increased risk of extreme poverty.
The AMCHAM president said to break the bias, it must begin with acknowledging women's challenges and issues.
Breaking the bias means rooting out negative stereotypes and prejudices against women. Breaking the bias means calling out sexism, protecting women from gender-based violence, and ending discrimination by both men and women. Breaking the bias means investing in diversity policies to create more inclusive and equitable places.
And in St. Kitts and Nevis, speaking on World Kidney Day 2022, Junior Minister of Health Hazel Brundy-Williams says greater emphasis should be placed on reducing the incidence on kidney disease, as concerns are shared about the increasing number of people who are presenting with the final stage of the disease. Glenn Bart tells us more.
Health officials on Nevis are concerned over the increasing number of people who are presenting with end-stage kidney disease. Speaking on the occasion of World Kidney Day 2022, Junior Minister of Health Hazel Brundy-Williams said greater emphasis must be placed on reducing the incidence of kidney disease and the progression to dialysis through education and awareness programs. The minister said, quote, "Here on Nevis, we continue to see more and more of our people presenting with end-stage kidney disease. As a consequence of this, the Ministry of Health is presently assisting a number of people ranging from age 33 to 74 years with dialysis treatment," end quote. According to Minister Brundy-Williams, patients living with chronic kidney disease have a lower quality of life compared with the general population experiencing physical, emotional, and financial stress. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
In sporting news, the government has approved 15,000 spectators for this year's staging of the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships at the National Stadium. The highly anticipated event will be held from April 5 to 9. Tickets are scheduled to go on sale after March 21, and persons must register on ISSA's website to have their vaccinated status ratified in order to make a purchase. Jamaica College and Edwin Allen High School won the boys and girls titles in 2021, respectively. The West Indies assistant women's coach Robert Samuels is hoping the huge defeat against India in the ICC Women's World Cup does not affect the team's confidence too much as they gear up for another tough game, this time against a #1 ranked team, Australia. The Windies women were beaten by 155 runs after India posted a mammoth 317 for 8. Samuels admitted that complacency might have crept in after the Windies women started off the tournament successfully with victories against New Zealand and England. He also noted that the Windies women had a bad day in all three aspects of the game.
A defeat is not a good thing, especially a defeat of this magnitude. But I'm hoping that it will not affect the team too much. Teams have to learn to bounce back from defeat because it's the nature of sports. And we will see moving forward how the ladies handle themselves. We have been doing some good things for the past year and coming easy, because you're playing top teams in the world and it is a World Cup and you have to do extraordinary things to win a World Cup or do well in a World Cup. So it was a big loss, but we are hoping and we have been talking that we can get the girls refocused and back on track.
The unflappable Nkrumah Bonner once again proved he was worth his weight in gold, combining with all-rounder Jason Holder to nullify England's attack and secure West Indies a draw on a compelling final day of the opening test on Saturday. Arriving at the crease half hour before tea, when West Indies lost both openers in successive overs to slip to 59 for 2 in search of an improbable 286, man of the match Bonner followed up his first innings 123 with an unbeaten 38 to navigate a potentially precarious last session at the Vivian Richards Cricket Stadium. Crucially, Bonner found an ally in Holder, who was unbeaten on 37 at the end, the pair putting on an invaluable 80 for the fifth wicket as West Indies ended on 147 for 4. And with that, we call an end to today's newscast. On behalf of our entire news production team, thanks for watching the news and for making it PBCJ, the People's Station.